IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 23 of The Fighting G.O.A.T. My name is Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, your host, along with my partner, Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra.
What is up, buddy? What is up?
What's up? What's up? It's all good. It's a bright and sunny Monday, and we've had one hell of a week in the MMA verse. Tons to talk about, tons on the show, and a great topic to talk about. We're going to talk about, after our break, the mentality of being a fighter, what it takes to be a fighter, and much, much more. But the Superhuman will get us started with what happened in the week that was.
Oh, man, it's been such a killer week for us because we not only had the UFC that was there, but we also had a great card on Bellator where the belt changed. Oh man, that was super. That was super. Chips, how was the week? How did you enjoy it? How many fights did you see? What all did you see? What was going on?
Not just the Bellator card as well, my friend. We had our very own Ritu Phogat, who also
the ONE FC card. Yes, absolutely.
One
How
Fighting
can I forget
Championships.
Wow.
There was a lot going on. Yeah, it's very easy to forget.
There was so much going on. It was such a good fighting week for us.
It was. And Ritu is back in her form. She lost her last fight. It was a close fight. I think she lost by split decision. But the warrior that she is came back and this time left, no doubt. She beat her opponent, who was, I think, Somesh, correct me if I'm wrong, was on a 10-fight winning streak or something?
11-fight winning streak. Yeah.
And snapped her 11-fight winning streak. That just shows that she's back. It's such a funny thing that we're leading up to mentality. Some fighters, after a loss, how they become, how they change. And, they either change for the better or for the worse.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. In fact, Lynn Hequin was the opponent, and man, she was on an 11-fight winning streak. But the unanimous decision was clear. It was such a one-sided fight. It just went through seamless, perfect takedowns. As always, great counter, ground and pound. And she just made a statement right there that she's back to fight B. Nguyen in case that opportunity arises.
Very true. And the way she changed her striking with her, we all know Ritu Phogat has insane wrestling. She's got great wrestling chops, but it's the freestyle wrestling which is now merging, which is now blending into MMA wrestling.
Yes.
It's like, guys like DC talk about. DC is an Olympian. Yeah. And he was an Olympian. I think he was a Greco-Roman Olympian. Yeah. And the way he transitioned into MMA wrestling was insane. So she started chaining her striking together along with her wrestling. And I'm telling you, mark my words, this girl is going to be the world champion in ONE FC in a while. She's got a couple of fights.
It would be so beautiful to actually see the heavyweight champ in ONE FC, Arjun Singh Bhular and Ritu Phogat hold the belt simultaneously. What would that do to the entire MMA scenario in India?
Oh man, it'll change. MMA scenario in India is growing slowly. Right. There are fighters coming up from every corner of the country. There are small organizations coming up. I got even a couple of calls for, by the way, we've been invited for a grappling tournament if you want to go.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I got a call for in Bombay only. Yeah, there's a grappling tournament coming up soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we can see Mystic Chips is now getting invited as a special guest to various things. And me, I'm sitting out here at my home doing nothing, just watching paint dry.
They're probably calling me to kick my ass.
Well, they think they can kick your ass, but don't go on his nice looks and the fact that he's such a jovial guy. Man, once he's in there, I've eaten some of those leg kicks. I've eaten some of his bad shots, and they've been absolutely beautiful.
Oh man, that's one thing that we love to do. Bring on the pain. But speaking of bringing on the pain, we moved to the Bellator main event, which was, you saw the press conference between AJ McKee and Pitbull Freire. By the way, people are saying that Mr. Worldwide got knocked out worldwide. They're calling him the same Pitbull.
Well, Pitbull Patricio Ferreira of what? Freire. Oh man,
Freire.
these surnames kind of get me a little confused.
I love the Brazilians, man. It gets my arr coming out.
Freire.
Arr coming out.
Man, but AJ McKee just pulled out a feather out of his cap, man. It was crazy.
It's so funny, the thing is that it's, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep alluding to it because mentality is such a big part of the sport.
Yes.
And we saw the trash talk. Conor McGregor started a different trend, I think.
Right,
because
he has.
He, when he got into the game, he did a lot of trash talk. But of course, since his loss to Dustin Poirier, he's taken it several notches up. Maybe there's a point he wants to prove, etc., etc. That's his thing.
Very true.
Guys like Pitbull also took it to the next level, where he started joking about beating him in front of his father.
Right.
And a lot, and there's a lot of the trash talk happened. And man, McKee delivered.
Man, McKee
delivered.
Like he finished off a world champion within 2 minutes of the very first round. And not only that, this entire Grand Prix, format of Bellator is so beautiful because, man, it got him $1 million.
That's
$1 million paycheck. And it was like 3 or 4 fights. And if you win all of them, it's $1 million plus the featherweight title belt.
And that's such a funny thing. We'll do another show on, we talk about the payment structures of different organizations. And
right.
That's another fun thing in itself. But what a great fight at the end of the day. I hope they run it back in Brazil because Patrick Freire is still a champ. He's still the lightweight champion.
Yeah.
He holds 2 belts in Bellator.
Right.
So he can still come back and defend. And I'm sure that rivalry is just beginning. It's just beginning.
Right.
But that being said, speaking of rivalries, we moved up to the UFC card.
Oh, man.
It was, I gotta give it up to, first things first, before we even get into the main event and stuff, I gotta give it up to the women. This is the first time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the first time in the history that a woman has taken a $50,000 KO bonus home.
Wow. So I'm not very sure about that, but Shannon Biles versus Gloria Paula, in the strawweight division, it was not even 1 minute of the first round that she head kicked her into a different planet altogether.
Oh God, it was
smack
on the face.
It was crazy. And the best part is, Chips, I love the fact that in the post-fight, how she spoke about she's been broke, she's negative on her bank balance, and what this 50,000 means to her. And this is exactly what we've been discussing about the mindset of fighters.
Man. It's so depressing sometimes to, fighters have talked about the the wage gap, between the men and the women and the wage gap between the top fighters and the lower fighters.
Right.
I think performances like this open the road to higher pay. I guarantee when Biles fights again, her money will triple. Like her base pay will triple.
Absolutely.
I'm sure what's on her contract. And Dana is a very smart man. And when fighters are genuine and are willing to put their lives and their hearts on the line for the company, he does everything for them.
Oh, absolutely.
And you've seen that in the past.
There's no doubt about that. So this was definitely one of those stellar performances that deserves a contract negotiation.
Man. And what knockout power in this girl's hand, man. Her leg kick and those elbows, strawweight, and she just landed. She slammed those elbows in, and she put her out, dude. It was brutal. Brutal.
This was such a good card. What? Actually, very surprisingly, it was advertised as a 3:30 a.m. card, and it was moved to 6:30 a.m.
I know. I don't know.
So I actually had a 3:15 alarm, and I woke up and I'm like, dude, this thing is not starting. When is it going to start? When is it going to start? And then I saw the ad, 6:30 a.m. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I was like, I knew before only. I'm like, मैं क्यों उठूं? आराम से. But I woke up just in time to see Nicholas Stolzer, who is this highly touted prospect from Germany, who had come in with so many wins, and took on an opponent who came on 4 days' notice.
Jared
4 days'
Gooden.
notice. Sorry?
Jared Gooden.
Yes.
Is his name. Yeah.
Jared Gooden. Yeah. And this kid comes on and knocks him the F out in the first round.
This is exactly why we are looking to talk about mentality, because Stolz obviously came in with that hype and he may have come in a little more relaxed. Gooden knew he had to prove a point. He had to switch his mindset. He had to come in and say, listen, it's kill or be killed. And that's exactly what he did. Dude, it was like just above 1 minute in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. About a minute and a half max.
Yeah,
And
what a card! What a card! I mean, there were 3 huge finishes.
Yeah.
And there were 2 decisions, and it was, the level of talent in the UFC and generally MMA as a sport in general is just becoming so competitive that anybody who wants to get into the sport already needs to be at a level to even start.
It's a funny thing you say that, because you can relate that, till 10 years ago, there was a difference in levels. There was
huge.
There was huge differences. Even in other sports, like when you see the English Premier League, where you would say, till 10 years ago, Manchester United would smoke the living shit out of an Everton any day. But today, an Everton or a Sunderland United will give them a fight.
Absolutely.
It's become a very different. And you've seen so many upsets. Teams like Man City back in the day beat them 7-1. That was a shocker.
Man, that's crazy.
They came out of nowhere.
It's such a beautiful point that you made, that I just feel this entire shift of parents focusing on sports as a career is a global phenomenon. Every parent wants that to happen. And there are so many leagues coming up. The more the leagues, the better it is, because more people get chances,
True.
I've always focused on that. I've spoken n number of times on this, and I'm so glad it's happening. However, I believe it's the tip of the iceberg, and the future is so beautiful for most kids in this generation, who are in that 12, 13, 15 year age group, who want to take sports as a career. I think it is such a good time. And speaking of a good time, PV Sindhu won her 2nd medal in the Olympics.
Oh,
and congratulations, PV Sindhu. You have made us proud once
all
again.
Of our Indians, man. All of our athletes have done such a bang-up job, man.
They are. I mean, the shot put woman who's there, who is putting up a show like a queen.
Can you just imagine, Somesh? I mean, we come from a country which has such a diverse background and such, and is producing such incredible athletes that are putting on such a show. Our wrestlers have proven themselves time and time again. Our shooters are proving themselves time and time again. We're starting to grow in and become better in every category. Imagine if our country just allocated 10% of the BCCI's budget to other sports, how we could actually grow.
But, Chips, I feel that is happening. I think the trend has changed.
Really, it's like a slow trickle. It's like a tap that's leaking at the speed of, 1 drop every 1 hour.
But, sometimes what happens when it's a very unfortunate thing, but when the athlete gets more than what they can digest, we may just lose talent.
You look at countries like Australia. Okay, I'm not comparing, but you see, their swimmers, we're not going to compare to America, because America has had a history of high school football, high school wrestling, high school basketball, high school everything. So they start at a very young age. India does that with cricket. And how can we forget the iconic win of our own hockey team, man? After 3 decades, we beat England hollow.
Yes.
3-1. I'm so proud of our team. It's incredible. What a performance, man. It's heartbreaking. We were in the Sony studios and we saw the commentators get very emotional about it.
Yeah.
And it was something, man. It was something to behold. So our country and our team does so well. I just wish, this is just a shout out to the powers that be, the sports ministers. And all we can do is, we love cricket. We are a cricketing nation, no doubt. Yeah. But let's all become more than just cricket.
Absolutely.
India has the potential to win every bloody sport. We just have to put the money and the focus into it.
Absolutely. Well, the current sports minister, Mr. Anurag Thakurji, definitely is looking into it.
Anji,
and he's a young, dynamic gentleman, and he's proven his mettle with the IPL, and now he's taken up the central sports ministry.
Wasn't he supposed to come on to our show? There are some rumors flying around from our producer that we might have the sports minister himself on the fighting boat.
Absolutely.
I hope that happens, and fingers crossed if it does.
Well, speaking of the sports minister, the actual 2 ministers who threw down like no other were Sean Strickland and Uriah Hall. Man, 2 great strikers. Mm-hmm. But again, did it come down to mindset where Uriah Hall just couldn't pull the trigger? It's such a good talent house, but it's not happening.
He said, you know who Uriah Hall reminds me of? a young Czech Congo. Czech Congo.
Yes.
If you look at Czech Congo, you're like, mother. Like, this guy is one of the scariest looking athletes in the world. He looked like he's been carved out of a rock, firstly.
Yes.
By some Greek god. Like a Greek god only carved him.
Yeah.
Himself.
He's got, he's got like a 1% body fat type of
thing. He's got like 0.5% body fat. Like his veins have veins. His veins have veins. And he was such a talented kickboxer. He had great kickboxing, but had the mental issue of some days he couldn't pull the trigger. Uriah Hall, I think it was a combination of, Sean Strickland is, if you look at it mathematically, it's such a great matchup. Uriah Hall has so many great kicks. Yeah. He has insane leg kicks. He can break your legs down with those kicks. Sean Strickland is like a plodding forward, Nate Diaz, Max Holloway style. Okay, Max is much more versatile in his strikes. Sean Strickland is purely boxing. And he stood flat-footed in front of Uriah Hall and beat him. He beat him at his own game, out-jabbed him, out-struck him, hurt him multiple times. Right. And it's just, we don't know what happened.
This sport is so much about will and skill. But sometimes once you're in there, it's more about will than skill. Because
very true.
As you rightly mentioned, he just stood in the pocket. He stood in front of him. He struck him with a jab. He hurt him 3 or 4 times. But Sean Strickland still could not finish it.
That's the thing. And he came out himself in the post-fight press conference saying, maybe I punched like a pansy. And I'm like, very funny. But I like his sense of humor. At least he's got a sense of humor, And this is the guy who doesn't know who else is in the division. He just says, I know the champ. And I'm just fighting because I like to fight. He's a bit of a psychopath, which is awesome.
Well, this is typically those old school Team Quest guys,
oh my God.
The Dan Henderson, Matt Lindland guys who are coming out there and saying, listen, we don't know who,
savages.
I don't know who my opponent is. I'm just going to go there and bang.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as I know the rules.
That guy, cool. I'll be there. Like Tank Abbott days. Like Tank Abbott didn't even know where he was till he got there. He just take his shirt off, put his teeth out, put the mouth guard in, and say, "Chalo, abhi ladenge."
But man, those guys have a charm. That was
a era, man. That was a lovely era. So we saw a great performance being put on by Strickland because he was not being rash. Because he knew that somebody like Uriah Hall has the power standing in front of you.
Especially after the performance versus Spider Silva,
Yes,
we obviously knew that Uriah Hall is definitely one of the scariest guys out there.
No, he put on such a good performance. He put on a clinic. But I can say this: he was on that night. He was on. Like Uriah Hall was on. And if the Uriah Hall of yesterday faced Anderson Silva, maybe we would have seen a different result.
Man, seriously. I mean,
But we know what, Somesh, we got to lead us in. We got to quickly go to a commercial break. So I think we need to figure this out of what we're going to talk about later.
Absolutely. Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, this ends our segment and we'll be right back after a short break where Mystic Chips and Superhuman Kamra will be speaking on fighter mindset and how it is so important in the mind of every single athlete out there. So stay tuned. We'll see you right back after the short commercial break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, in the first half, Ashwin is joined by Varun to wrap India's ODI tour of Sri Lanka. In the second half, DJ joins the party to discuss the first T20 international between India and Sri Lanka. If you'd like to hear more about this match, former Indian cricketer Sabha Karim joins Rajiv Mishra on Khel Niti and they talk some more about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're really excited to announce a new show, a show about crypto with Rohan Joshi. He's going to dive deep and demystify all this crypto stuff that we've been hearing about. And let me tell you a little bit more about stuff that's going on the network really quickly. Congratulations to Maru Kinayat, who celebrates 50 episodes of The Note with a discussion on health as a fundamental right. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Harsha Chetanwala of mywealthgrow.com. Zarina Poonawala is starting a new miniseries on emotional intelligence. Do check out the kickoff episode on the Empowering series. And Simplified talks about semiconductors. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any other show for that matter, please do tell a friend. That's really helpful for us. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. They make this all possible. Thank you very much. CET, Cred, Global Victoria, Bank of Baroda, Intuit India, Lenovo, and CoinSwitch Kuber. We really appreciate your support.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Fighting GOAT. We are live from the IBM studios. I just love saying that. This is Mystic Chips with the Superhuman Kamra. And we want to talk to you about something a little serious. We were talking about it before the commercial break, on and on. We keep talking about fighter mentality, old school versus new school mentality. You hear a lot of athletes. Recently, there was an athlete in the Olympics who was unable to continue because of an issue. Mentality is a weird thing. There's nothing called, it's not a function of toughness. I think it's also situational. Sometimes the pressure can get to you. Even the greatest of the greatest have crumbled under that pressure.
Absolutely yes. In fact, you put that so well, because after a point of time, when you have reached the elite of the elitist, the only thing that can get you down is these 450 grams, which is on top out here. The human mind is so complex yet so beautiful, because we can create robots, we can create artificial intelligence, we created the internet, we made computers, we don't even need to be together to talk. We are that superb and superior compared to all other species. However, we've still not mastered our own mind. When we get there, as I like to say, it's more of a will issue and not a skill issue, because anybody, all the 800 fighters in the UFC, all Olympians, all NFL, NBA, you may say they are all very, very talented. They are like the elite of the elitist. However, there are times where, great basketball players like Dennis Rodman have got a back issue. They have played through it. But on some days when they're mentally down, they just cannot do it.
It's happened to LeBron James. It's happened to Steph Curry. It's happened to Shaq. It happened to Michael Jordan. It happened to
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
He's openly spoken about it.
And the mental game is such a big aspect of things. It's happened to, when Anderson Silva came back after his leg injury, he could see him battling with his inner mind. You could see him battling with his demons. And when he won that fight after he came back, he was in tears, because he knew that not only did he cross the physical barrier of coming back, but the mental one as well.
Exactly.
And I think today we can start off with, when we talk about it, we see the greatest example. We saw Uriah Hall today, who was just not there. A man with a superhuman body. He's in his prime. He looks good. He's got all the skills. This guy has landed spinning back kick knockouts on people and have put on incredible performances. But we just, the mind, I think it's his demons, his mind that doesn't let him fight the way he's capable of fighting.
Well, yes, indeed. And in fact, he was on I think 3 or 4 fight winning streak where he defeated Anderson Silva, after which he defeated Chris Weidman with that freaky leg break. When he came back, it was something totally different. In fact, I would like to talk about my personal experience here. When the first time we got to the UFC and we were all pumped up and all these interviews and Insta lives and Facebook lives and all of that. But, when you're in the locker room and it's, you're kind of prepping up, with your athlete and you're pumping them up and, stretching and, kind of just, getting that sweat going. And the coordinator comes and says, Team India, you're on in 5 minutes. And your heart rate goes from 100 to 150 in a matter of 2 seconds. And you're like, dude, it's make or break right now.
Exactly.
And, then they say, okay, let's go on to the preparation spot. So we wait out there and the cameras are like here, right on our face. And we're like, dude, just breathe and get back to normalcy. And what happens at that point of time when you have to go on? There's a count. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the lights come on and we have to walk.
And the music is blasting. The crowd is.
I cannot even emphasize on the fact that, of course, there were a lot of boos and people throwing stuff on us. Yeah, because you guys
were fighting in foreign territory, man. You were fighting, I think, Sangedong in Shanghai.
In Shanghai. And I'll tell you what happened then and there. If you ask me what happened, I'll tell you I cannot remember. I can only remember once we were back in the locker room. What happened in those 30 minutes is not even there in my...
Correct.
And it's physically not there in my brain, because I'm like, dude, I zoned out. I completely zoned out. I just know I was in the corner. There were, there's these flash memories you have. Yes, this happened. You were giving instructions. You were talking about timings, and boom, the fight was over.
It's great to talk to commentators about this because we are always
it is.
Guys' corners used to come back to us. It's such a funny thing. It's so right you said that, because there would be, especially guys who were newcomers that would fight for the first time.
Yeah.
And I've seen this, and the guy came down and just, he just tapped on my shoulder, the coach and the fighter, before the fighter came down, coach asked me, like, how many seconds was that? How many minutes was that?
Yeah.
How quickly did it end? Especially if it ended, if the fight finished.
Yeah.
And it was on the losing side. And he came and said, how exactly did he go down?
Yeah.
These simple questions. Like, he knows what happened, but he's just double checking with
it. Doesn't register at times.
Correct. So I said, it was a TKO. He got dropped by a left hook and blah, blah. He's like, oh, okay, thanks a lot. And then he would leave. But, it's which comes up to my next point. I want to ask you this question. It's, we see a lot of the mentality issues going on with a couple of fighters.
Right.
But I remember hearing excerpt from Anderson Silva when he was talking about the shooter box days. They're saying they would break, guys like Vanderlei, Shogun would break themselves mentally inside the cage, inside the training, in training. They would break themselves so much inside training that I remember Anderson telling one of his students saying, it's fight day, go have fun. Now you don't have to care. Now you just go out and do what we told you, what you've been doing. Just go out and have fun. Now is the big show. He's like, the lights are on, the cameras are there, the women are pretty, they're smiling at you. Now's your chance to go out and be a star. And that was Anderson's mindset.
Well, so what you're saying is that you do the harder work before the fight, and the fight is honestly not going to be that difficult.
And I think you'd agree with me, because the shooter box guys, they murdered themselves inside the camp.
Right.
And when they came out, you saw them going crazy. Shogun would be smiling and jumping around and throwing kicks. Vanderlei never smiles anyway. He's just out there to take your money and your kids' money and your jaidad and your khandan and everything as much as he can take from you. But but they had that entire mentality of smiling. When guys like Chuck would walk in smiling, Rampage would walk in with a dog face and with his own theme song, which only sang one word: Rampage. I love that, man. So there were some fighters that, and there are guys like Diego Sanchez, which just put that ridiculous pressure on themselves. He had to scream, yes, all the way to the cage.
That was almost psychotic.
He was psychotic. And then guys like GSP, who are just, like flat, calm. No expression.
Yeah, they're
calm, like water. Silva, like water.
Yeah.
All these guys walked out like that. So it's so funny that I think I hate saying the older school mentality or newer school mentality.
Right.
But I think it's a function of, like Anderson said, he's like, just go out there and have fun. Do you agree with that?
Right. Well, you see, I completely agree with that. But, it's, MMA has come to a point where, see, when we started viewing the sport in the Pride FC days, 2003, 2004, it was about fighting. And like any other business or as any other sport, as it progresses, it is looked at as a business. And someone like Conor McGregor has put a stamp on that, because now people or fighters are looking at the medium of mixed martial arts as a business.
True.
But one of my favorite fighters, obviously, like Sean O'Malley.
By the way, he was chilling with Logan Paul.
I know, so I mean, great. Social media is like fuel to the fire. So, so he's a guy who comes out there who's probably not the most skilled, but, he wants to run his clothing business. He wants to run his energy drink business. He wants to chill, with LeBron James, or, he wants to chill with Logan Paul. And, it's just this entire marketing thing which has come into play. But if you look at the older guys, who fought like for $150, for $200, they fought with the intention to put food on the table, not to build a legacy.
True.
At some level, I do feel the mentality of the game is moving towards creating superstars and creating wealth and creating all of that, which I agree. Yes, it should be there.
Yeah.
But we had a discussion before getting live on the podcast. I mean, the extreme decline of someone like a Junior Dos Santos when he
that's just depressing, man.
when he was training in Brazil versus when he came to the US and he's driving his Range Rover
Under
and he has,
I remember.
and he has this nice, lovely house. He's doing endorsements. He's doing visits. The will to fight just goes out of the window because you start realize, why should I get into the octagon and have pain when I can do it in any other way, when I can make money by going to an event and cut a ribbon? Why should I fight?
Look, that is, I think that, guys, especially guys, the Brazilian fighters that came in.
Yeah.
And you see the same in the Czech and the Russian fighters as well.
Yeah.
And the Polish, basically, you see them in quite the common denominator of these guys. They also grew up in major poverty, where guys like Silva, Aldo, Charles Oliveira, Shogun, Vanderlei, Nogueiras, they all came from poverty. Junior Dos Santos, when we were talking about him, about his mentality, when he came into the UFC and he knocked out Fabricio Verdum, I mean, he hit him so hard, Verdum's ears wiggled with that utter uppercut. And Verdum he was a stud. He is a stud. He came back later to become the champion, but it was Junior's time. He was on. He was hungry. He was the lion who came into the cage and started knocking everybody out. I mean, imagine, Somesh, you remember the Junior Dos Santos that beat the living daylights out of Shane Carvin, who was one of the hardest fighters to hurt. And Junior, I mean, imagine that Junior versus today's crop, man. I think Junior would be champ.
Seriously. In fact,
because of that mentality.
Imagine a prime Junior Dos Santos versus Francis Ngannou. Like how
good, Junior any day.
How good would that? Would that fight be? Shit, it would be insane. But just a small tip. By the way, Shane Carvin has the biggest palm in the UFC, so he has the biggest glove size. By the way,
no, even Brock also had the same size, I think.
I think Shane Carvin was the biggest.
So 19 beast, but they
19 beast.
But the mentality of Shane Carvin. I can't help but go back a little bit. See, you see that mentality in guys like Chito Vera. You see that mentality in guys like Chris Moutinho.
Well, the current champion Charles Oliveira.
See that mentality.
He still trains under the same conditions like what he was. Jose Aldo, same conditions as what they were.
Maybe you're onto something here. You're onto something. Sorry to interrupt, but I think the reason they do that is so they mentally stay the same.
Absolutely. What happened to Joanna? Joanna from Poland to ATT, and she became a different fighter altogether. We have in the only fighter that I know who has gone from a successful camp to a bigger camp, failed and come back to his old small gym is the current light heavyweight champion, Jan Plakovic. Jan Plakovic,
true,
was in Poland training in a very small gym with his set 4 or 5 guys. He became the champion. He moved, went to, I think, American top team. He failed miserably. He had, I think, a 4 or 5 fight winning streak. He came back to Poland and grabbed the belt.
It's that's so true. And then even our current flyweight champion, Brandon Moreno.
Oh man, the beast from Mexico.
The beast, the baby-faced beast from Mexico.
Baby-faced assassin.
I mean, you look at his training camp. It looked like a garage. Somebody's garage with like tires hanging around and ropes just hanging.
Absolutely.
Simple, with some 7-8 guys is working out simultaneously there. It didn't look like a posh, high-end gym.
Right.
Which is like, it didn't. But you know what? It's too soon. Maybe, he's just got the belt. Now comes the money. Now comes the fame. Now comes the adoration. Now comes the attention.
Well, what about Max Holloway? Max Holloway also has a similar condition.
But Holloway is a weathered champ. He's been around. Moreno is still young. He's just gotten the belt.
Right. Whereas, but you know what? Max Holloway
tasted defeat.
But Max Holloway always trained in that small gym and he's not changed it.
He doesn't spar anymore. And what a difference it made.
Seriously. But but his environment is very humble. It's simple.
Exactly.
It's not a big name. He has stuck to his roots.
Exactly. Same with BJ Penn. He trained in Hilo, Hawaii.
Exactly.
I think Max and BJ trained at some point as well.
Yes, they did. But then BJ moved to, Jackson Wink in the middle for some time,
and then I don't know what happened.
And stuff like that. So
BJ only had issues with his strength and conditioning. His mind was always on the
spot
money.
on. He was spot on.
His conditioning was the issue, man.
Yeah.
And he fixed that against guys like Kenny Florian and Diego Sanchez. Man, he put a beating on them.
Right. But how difficult is this thing becoming? Because once a fighter tastes success, he obviously wants to live in a better manner. Why is he putting his body and mind through this? To earn money, to provide for his family. But at some level, do you think the fighters of today have it in them to say, yes, I am the champion, but I'm still going to be grounded. I'm still going to be traveling in my second-hand Fiat. I'm still going to be living in my, one-bedroom house. Because see, someone like Conor, who has the fighting spirit, has earned so much money that honestly, 2, 3,
Conor's
4...
crazy. Conor will fight even when he's a trillionaire. He'll fight for the sake of it.
But it's coming down to performance. It's coming down to hunger. At some level, we are not seeing that. We're not seeing that madness still in them. See, someone like Mike Chandler knows he has 3 years left. He's just putting it all on the line. There has to be that stop block that says, listen, I have 3 years or I don't have money. But honestly, somebody who's very comfortable, I don't know why he would put his body and mind to this.
No, you look at champions that have been champions for so long. Guys like GSP. GSP is rich as hell. Silva is rich as hell. Aldo is rich as hell. And they were reigning champions for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Silva was more than, Silva was 7 years champion, 12 title defenses.
Right.
And 16 wins straight.
16 consecutive wins. Yeah.
I mean, those are stats that just speak for themselves. And then you've got guys like GSP, albeit, it's so funny. Because of him getting hurt, his mentality changed. He became a safe fighter.
Correct.
And he didn't care about, he just wanted to win, to keep
Correct.
He didn't care he was only about legacy. Whereas guys like Aldo still put it on the line. Aldo still went crazy. So mentality is such a funny thing, and it's such a long-winded topic, to be honest, because I think there will always be a new school mentality and an old school mentality. I think it's the fighters that are coming. Guys like Vicente Luque comes in with that mentality. Like, I'm going to win. I don't care. Guys like Cowboy Cerrone, man, they never cared about belts and legacies. You
and
win.
Money also at some level.
You win or you lose. They don't care.
Right.
They just want a paycheck and they want to put on a show.
But in fact, that is such a good thing, because way back in the older times of the UFC, when there were sponsors that were sponsoring you, and that was the majority of your paycheck.
Oh man!
You actually look to show up and put up a performance so that sponsors come on your jersey, on your shorts.
Exactly.
And now that has changed, because now most organizations are saying, listen, we have an apparel partner, and say Venom or Reebok or Nike are coming on board.
Venom is looking good though. Huh? The outfits are looking really good.
The design of the outfits are beautiful. A huge shout out to Venom for this.
Oh, beautiful.
But at some level, awesome. There was a time where, fighters like Donald Cowboy Cerrone used to earn $100,000 just in sponsorship every fight that he was there.
Dude, can you imagine guys like
tap out t-shirt, Bad Boy.
Dude, Bad Boy Athletics, Diamondized Nutrition used to pay Brock Lesnar, I don't know, the millions.
Yeah.
And dude, Silva was sponsored by Burger King. Can you imagine the money that they would have paid? And he actually said it on TV like, I like to eat Burger King. Finished. Burger King would be like, Leo paisa, yaar.
Stocks go straight up.
Stock went straight up, man. It's crazy. And I think sponsorships, I think the UFC had to realize that they had to put a cap on it or something.
Yeah.
It's all internal. It's an internal decision that they made.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you can go fight somewhere else. That's as simple as that. Because Bellator lets you do it, and all the other organizations let you have different sponsors.
Right.
But back to the just to sum up in the entire conversation, is that I think mentality is something that changes from time to time.
Yes.
You see it in any sport. You see it in any champion. You see it in golf. You saw it when Tiger Woods was 24 years old. He won all 5 championships. And he won the green jacket. He won the Masters.
Yes.
The mentality of that man was there. Fighters and all athletes will go through a process where your mind is tested.
Yes.
Whether it's money or women or fame or loss or whatever, it's tested.
Yes.
And I saw that. Why I'm talking about Tiger Woods is because after all his divorce, him being sued by women, him going through turmoil, sponsors dropping him, came back and won again.
Yes.
Because
yes.
championship mentality is championship.
Well, I can definitely say that about TJ Dillashaw in our sport. That
I gotta say that.
People ruled him out, including myself. I'm including
come on,
myself.
people called him a cheater because he was banned for steroids straight up for 2 years.
But he came back and he defeated somebody who was on a rising streak, and he showed him who's the boss.
Exactly, Sandigan's.
So honestly, I just would like to sum it up by saying that in sports, you have to be hungry. Now, that hunger could be for fame, for money, for whatever it is. But the moment you lose that hunger, I think your career's over and it's not going to go anywhere. But having said that, I am so happy to take a very, very short break, and we would be right back speaking about UFC 265, where there's an interim heavyweight champion, some bad news about the featherweight champion and the bantamweight champion, Amanda Nunes. But all those details after this short break. We'll see you right back.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh, and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Fighting GOAT. You're listening to Mystic Chips, aka Arjun Chipalkatti, and the Superhuman Somesh Kamra. And now, we talked about the eye of the tiger. We talked about the eye of the tiger, the mentality of a champion. And that's exactly what's coming this weekend on UFC 265. 265? Is it 265, sir?
It is 265.
265 already, man. Can you imagine how many years? We've been watching it since, I think, UFC 10 or something. It's been...
I think the first UFC I probably saw was maybe UFC 25 or 26 or something of that sort.
I can't even remember. It's been so long. But speaking of UFC 265, we've got some great matchups lined up. Mr. Kamra, as always, will take you through it. Oh, and by the way, I won last time.
Really?
Streak continues.
Well, that game is over. That game is over because I think it's probably
it's called a game when it's competitive.
It's probably 10-4 or something. I mean, like you're 10-4. So
no, it's not 10-4. It's you are still at 1.
Hey, no.
Okay, chill, I give it 2. It is no. I'm saying the point of a game is it has to be competitive. When it's not competitive, then it's called a beating. No, there are no competitions between us, but yes, a healthy rivalry at all times.
Absolutely, yes. So, in fact, it is such a banging fight card. I would like to start off with the bad news that unfortunately, the bantamweight champion, the women's bantamweight champion, is out of the picture. Amanda Nunes is no longer on the card.
What about Juliana Pena? Is she not? There's no replacement? No interim belt?
No, there's no replacement belt. She unfortunately has got contracted with COVID. However, her partner, Tisha Torres, is on the card. She'll be facing Angela Hill. Because Amanda Nunes is out of the picture, Song Yadong moves up from the prelims to the main card in the bantamweight division. He faces Casey Kenny. It's a great fight. And I'm so happy because, I was happy to meet him. He was a opponent in his debut and Bharat's debut. The third fight on the card is in the welterweight, where Michael Chiesa takes on Vicente Luque.
Oh my God, that is going to be a banger. Chiesa versus Luque. Luque is if you've not seen Luque, go watch. He's been only getting knockouts. He knocked Woodley out so badly.
Out cold. That was out cold.
Man, if he can do it to Chiesa, he can do it. He can do it.
But I think it's a great matchup. The new bantamweight co-main event of the evening is Jose Aldo, the crazy Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz, and the heavyweight title fight of the event, the interim title fight, which is the main event of the evening, is the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, taking on the Frenchman, Cyril Gane, ranked number 3 in the world.
Cyril Gane,
it's such a crazy fight card.
Chips, insane from top to bottom.
I don't know which fight to even start.
But we got to predict quickly, man.
Because they're all so good, you know.
We just got to predict quickly. We're going to start with, I think we can talk about the top 3 fights. We're going to talk about Chiesa versus, we're going to talk about Michael Chiesa and Vicente Luque.
We're
going to see Aldo, Pedro Munoz, and of course, the interim heavyweight championship. Let's go!
Crazy. Okay, so welterweight, Michael Chiesa taking on Vicente Luque. Mystic Chips, what does the crystal ball say?
Vicente Luque!
Oh, God!
I got Luque!
Oh, you know, you know what? My hands are sweating.
Bolde. I mean, I lost so much.
I'm going to be going for Michael Chiesa in this one.
You're kind of happy that we're not keeping score anymore. No?
Well, you know what? My book has run out because you've just won so many times. There's just no more space for you to win.
All right. So you choose Michael Chiesa. You know what? It's a tough fight because it's a really, really good fight.
Yeah.
Michael Chiesa is a stud. He's very, very tough. He's come up a long way. He's got some sick grappling. Vicente Luque, though, is on a hot streak. This man has knocked everybody out. And it's going to be fun to watch.
I think it's going to be beautiful. The co-main event in the bantamweight division is Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz.
Aldo finished. The bias is there. It's always been there.
You know what? I'm going to be jumping on your bike because I think it is Jose Aldo that takes this one.
His leg kicks, his tenacity. And also remember, guys, this is a 3-round fight. Aldo, in a 5-round fight, paces himself very differently.
Yes.
In 3 rounds, he will go for broke.
You know, that's a very, very good point. But however, we saw Aldo in his previous fight. There were hardly any leg kicks. He didn't throw anything.
I spoke to him. He's going to change it up. He promised me. No, I hope we see a vintage Aldo. And guys, if you're a fan of fighting and you want to see, just Google Uriah Faber versus Jose Aldo to know what damage a leg kick can actually do to somebody.
However, his previous fight was versus Marlon Vera, which obviously he won, but there were no leg kicks thrown out there. I think it was, very late. I think it was December 2020. So I'm assuming there's an absolutely revived Aldo who's coming out there.
I hope so. I mean, he survived against Chito Vera. Man, Chito Vera is tough.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. So
he beat your favorite fighter. So, you have double incentive now because...
Absolutely. I think Pedro Munoz is in for a long night.
Short night, actually.
My money is on Jose Aldo on this one. And Mystic Chips too is on Jose Aldo.
Aldo all the way.
Just for the Brazilian visa. He's such a big, huge Brazilian fan out there. He's been for 15 carnivals every single year.
Exactly. Carnival.
But this takes us to the main event of the evening for the interim heavyweight belt. Derek the Black Piece Lewis versus Cyril Gane. Who is crazier? Who's got the knockout power? Who will tire whom out? It's a 5-round fight, so we cannot rule out the fact that cardio will come into the picture here.
With a very heavy heart, I'm going to say that Cyril Gane outpoints Derek Lewis.
Oh, so are you hinting at the fact that it's going to be a 5-round decision?
It's going to be a 5-round decision because of the fact that, look, I mean, we all love Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is dangerous.
Yeah.
But the deeper the waters go, the more it favors Cyril Gane. And Gane is a very smart kickboxer. He will cut angles. He will feint. He'll come in, bounce in and out like he did against Alexander Volkov.
True.
I mean, I already see it going. Cyril, but though you can never count Derek Lewis out, man. That hammer of a right, but he needs to land it clean. And Cyril is so light on his toes. He's in and out of range. It's a little difficult.
Yeah. So are you going for the Frenchman, Cyril Gane?
Yes, I will.
You're not going to change your prediction. Are you sure?
Okay, talk to me one day before. Also, depending how many beers I've had on Saturdays, so it depends on that.
Okay, you know what? So I'm going to be going for Derek Lewis because I feel in 25 minutes, he just needs to land that right once. Gane needs to protect himself for that much longer. So I'm going to take a risk out here. I think I may lose.
I want to be on your side so badly. I want to see Derek win. Man, Derek is when guys like Roy Nelson and Mark Hunt won, it was every fat guy's dream.
Yes.
Because they were like, these guys, big guys rubbing their bellies and knocking people out. And Derek also didn't give a shit. He wants his steak and chicken nuggets after the fight. And he doesn't give a crap. He's just like, I'm out to knock somebody out. That's it.
You know what? There's a very good question that if and ever Derek Lewis wins, do you think that belt will go around his waist? Because his waist is like an entire equator out there.
Oh man, no, but Derek he's been slimming down, but do not let that, no, ladies and gentlemen, do not let that fool you. The man is nimble as hell. He lands flying kicks and jumping knees and flying knees, and I won't be surprised. Okay, let's just go out on a limb. Derek Lewis via flying knee. What if that happens, dude?
If that happens,
break the internet.
No,
you call up Dana and tell him, I'm sorry, knockout of the year, fight of the year, locked.
Well, if that happens, then we are equals on our prediction game. So let's keep it there. I personally think Derek Lewis takes this one. It's just a gut feeling. Mystic Chips, however, is going on the opposite side, and he thinks it is going to be Cyril Gane.
I think it's going to be Cyril Gane, but you know what? I've been wrong many a times. And guys, forget the fact whether it be right or wrong. Join in the conversation. Come in, give us your predictions, give us your stats, tell us if we're right or wrong. I don't know, just have a conversation with us. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. My Instagram handle is Arjun_Chipalkatti, and my Twitter handle is @TheMysticChips. Somesh, go.
Yep, you can write to me on Instagram, somesh.kamra, and on Twitter, get me on somesh_kamra. Please tag us, hashtag us, speak to us on IVM Podcast. Tag us on all platforms, and we would be happy to give you exciting Fighting Goat fridge magnets. 5 winners this week will get Fighting Goat fridge magnets, and also a personal message from us saying that, guys, it was an absolute pleasure dealing with you. Absolute pleasure talking to Mystic Chips. Very, very insightful as always.
And we look forward, Mr. Kamra.
We look forward on seeing you same time, same place next week with more information and some exciting fights, analysis, predictions, and a lot more only on The Fighting Goat.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Paisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.
सफर, रास्ते, मंजिल और मुकाम अक्सर ये हमसे कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, पर हम हैं कि अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में इन्हें सुनने से कतराते हैं। नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है केशव चतुर्वेदी और मैं आपको ले चलूंगा कुछ ऐसे सफर पर जहां आपको एक नया नजरिया मिलेगा सफर और मंजिलों को देखने का। आइए इन किस्से कहानियों में डूब जाएं। हर मंगलवार और शुक्रवार